Hi, guys. Thank you so much for joining me today on PREM1ER Podcast. I just want to take this moment to thank you guys, the viewers, the listeners out there, for your continued support. The whole reason why I started PREM1ER Podcast was first and foremost to allow you guys to see what we do as a company, but how can we be transparent? How can we be transparent to the viewers, the listeners out there about what we do as a company and how we do it? As you see, I am by myself today. The reason behind that is because I want to start taking some time to spend one-on-one with you guys. And in that one-on-one, I want to explain different elements, me personally as the CEO of PREM1ER, but also just have one-on-one time with you guys, the ability to ask questions to me one-on-one, and hopefully you get something out of it. But today, in today's episode, I want to speak to you guys on the 6 pillars of success that I set up for myself at PREM1ER. It wasn't a fluke that I started PREM1ER by any means. It was a plan. There was an action behind my plan. But what I would like to share with you guys is, what is that action? What are these 6 steps that I took to essentially bring forth a company today that is successful as it is? So I have my trusty iPhone here. I'm going to go through these 6 pillars with you, explain in depth about each of these 6 things. And if you got questions, comments, you can definitely post those down below. You'll see the ability to do that. If you like it, please hit the like and subscribe. It helps the station, the channel, and it helps other people, and it gets the word out there. So I mentioned in a previous episode when I was with Clay that there's a saying that I have thought about many times. And that saying is one thing to have a good idea, a whole different thing to fund that idea. And what I meant by that is there are people who have great ideas. There are people who have a drive, a motive to start something, and they get all excited about it. I know we've all been there before. The problem is when that excitement comes to reality. And what I mean by that is you can have the greatest vision, the greatest idea in the world, but if you don't have the ability to fund that vision, that idea, all of a sudden it gets shelved. Why? Because it takes an act of faith to be able to put your hard-earned money or have the ability to find somebody who also will believe in that vision or that idea that you have. For me, my vision, my idea took funding. Now, I didn't have any money. As you guys heard in a previous podcast, when I came from California to Washington, I basically had nothing left. I had a tech company that had not done so well in the sense that it was way too early for what I was trying to accomplish and for it to go to market. But I had given up my previous career to focus heavily on the technology side of what I was doing. So I was desperate. And I didn't have a lot of money. I had enough in savings, enough in our personal bank account to be able to support the family, but I needed to do something. And when I had the idea of PREM1ER, I started to pray about it. One, for those of you that don't know, I'm a believer in the Lord with all of my heart. He's the only reason I believe 100% why we are to the point we are and the successes we've seen today, bar none. But I knew that I had to find funding or come up with money. So the first thing that I did is I casted vision and I had belief. That's your number 1 pillar. You have to visualize what you want to achieve. You have to be able to have a vision of yourself physically doing the job, the whatever idea that you have. You have to have a vision for it. Because without vision, it's going to perish. Why? Because if you can't see yourself doing it, there's no way you're doing it. I'm sorry. With that vision comes belief. You have to be able to believe that the vision that you have, that you've set forth for yourself, you got to believe that you can do it at all costs. As you heard in our previous podcasts, we did not stop when we started the company. After I started PREM1ER and I brought Clay on, the belief was we will achieve this and we will do this. When Clay mentioned I had to cast the vision for him, I simply shared with him these 6 pillars and why I believed in them so much. Didn't matter how good I was at doing renovations. Didn't matter how good he was at doing construction. It was all about the pillars that I had set forth for us as a company to stand on, no matter if the times were good and no matter if the times were rocky. We had pillars to stand on. Believing in yourself, first and foremost, is the most important thing. Having vision, great, you need it. You got to be able to visualize yourself doing it. But believing you can actually do it is a completely different thing. That's all one pillar. You got to have visualization and you have to have belief. So make sure that when you are wanting to start something, that you want to go out there and accomplish or do whatever for whatever you want to do in your trade personally, that you have belief and you have vision. Number 2, foundation and discipline. Foundation and discipline is key to any company, anybody wanting to do virtually anything outside of their norm. You have to have a firm foundation. One of the things that I've always strived to do is not just have a firm foundation in my household. That's important, by the way, for those gentlemen out there, as men in your families. You need to build a foundation for your family. But when it comes to a company aspect, or for Premier, we had to make sure that the foundation was strong. That foundation meant that we had to be disciplined in our actions. Discipline in our actions meant that what we said we were going to do, we were going to accomplish it. Foundations, what's important for you guys to know, foundations is what you set. So when times get tough and they get rough, you've got the discipline to make it through. But if your foundation is not deep enough, when the times get rough, the times get tough, and you have no discipline, it will fall. Statistically, Clay had mentioned this to me the other day. Statistically, I believe 5 out of 10 construction companies fail. I don't believe they fail out of bad intention. Now, I do believe that there are companies out there who do have bad intentions and that are in it for themselves, and they shouldn't be in business. But I believe that most companies are good. I want to genuinely believe that. The problem is they never set up any pillars for themselves. They started something, they had a great idea, they went into it, and then they realized real quick, uh-oh, this isn't what I anticipated. And when the waves came and, their foundation started to get rocked, they crumbled and they went back to what was normal. And that's what we do as people. At least that's what I believe, is as people, we get comfortable. And when we become comfortable, what is the first thing we do when times get hard? If we're doing something new, we always go back to the thing that was comfortable for us. Meaning, if something is hard and you need discipline and you have a foundation that's a little bit rocky, you're going to give up. And when you give up, you go back to the same thing you did before that was comfortable. Most of the time, you never go back to the thing that you originally tried to create because it's either too scary of an experience, too traumatic, you spent all your money, so on and so forth. So make sure that your foundation and your discipline are in order when starting a company. Number 3, drive and motivation. For Clay and I, the biggest thing was, one, we had the drive. Why? Because we had been doing this for so long. We knew that we could do it. So that really wasn't a problem for us. But you still have to drive and be motivated even when the times are tough. As you guys know, we started a company, or I started Premier, and right after I started it, 6 months later, the pandemic happened. Well, without drive and motivation, we wouldn't have made it either. Why? Because the belief that we would make it, the motivation, that would be the drive, and the motivation, meaning that we're motivated even in the times when there's trouble around us. It's a foundational pillar that you need to have. They will come. Times get tough. It's going to happen. But if you continuously keep your drive, your focus, right? Your focus is a big one. I'm going to use that as drive as well. But you keep that drive, that focus on the goal and that goal is what you have put your either hard-earned money in for, or you've got a loan from somebody, that is what's most important. You keep that in the forefront and you just keep going. And if you don't have anybody to motivate you, maybe you're doing this by yourself, then you motivate yourself. That means you get in the mirror and you pump yourself up, as funny as that sounds. You have a vision board and you put that vision board up. Anything you can do to motivate yourself, to get up off your couch, to get up out of your house, if you got to do sales, you do it. But drive and motivation is definitely essential when you want to start a company. Write it down. Write it on your wall. Because when the time comes, you can reflect back to these things and you can look at it and say, this is the season I'm currently in. And this is the scenario that I need to do. Your whys is number 4. What is your why? The question I have for you guys is, what is your why? If you want to start something, why do you want to start it? Sure, it can be success, financially stable. It could be for independence. It could be for working for yourself. But you got to have a why. The why is another essential part of this pillar. Because if you don't have a why, you don't have anything. You're kind of just the person in the wilderness just wandering around. There's got to be a why. For me personally, my why, and I will share it with you guys, my why was knowing that I have a family who depends on me. I have a daughter. For those of you, this is our one-on-one time. I have a daughter that has special needs who's 8 years old, and she needs full-time care. So my why, obviously, went above and beyond for most people's why, but that has always been my why. Why do I do the things that I do? Why do I work so hard? Why did I start this company? I knew that financial independence would eventually come. I knew that the work would be hard, yes, but my why was for her, to make sure that she will forever be taken care of. Make sure you have a why in your pillar. Make sure you have the thing that you look at and say, why do I do this? Why do I get up every morning and I work my butt off? Why do I work 18 to 20 hours a day? Previous podcast, there was a year and a half that Clay and I worked 16, 18, 20 hours a day. Again, there's a why. Why did I do that? Now, I was graced. One thing is having a lot of grace, but being graced to be able to do it. You got to know that you can do it. And when you're graced to do something, and it's your calling to do it, you will be able to have the energy to be able to accomplish anything that you set your mind to. But you got to be graced to do it. Graced in the ability of energy, graced in the ability of calmness, perseverance, overcoming, which would be also perseverance, I would think. So know what your why is. Number 5. It's going to be a quick podcast, but hopefully you guys get the point here. Number 5 is goal sets, the when, the where, and the how. Now, we've all heard things as professionals, when, where, and how. When, where, and how. But how does that relate to your goals? For me, personally, at Premier, my goal set was, when will we be at a certain point? When will we accomplish a certain goal? Where will we be at that point? Where will we be 2 years from now, 5 years from now? I constantly think of our company, and when I cast vision and I pray and I think about our company, I always think of the when, where, and how. How? How am I going to achieve these things? I know when I'm going to do it, or I believe I know when I'm going to do it, or when I'm going to launch to a new state, start a new podcast, right? Product line. But how? How do I do that? One of the biggest things that I look at is I constantly am a person who watches other podcasts. Let's just use Premier Podcasts for an example. Before I started this endeavor, I made sure that I found the right team. the right production team, the right marketing team. I also watched a whole bunch of podcasts on familiar topics of what I wanted to talk on. Now, they weren't the same topics. We all do things differently, obviously. And some are going to mesh with you, some are not, but that's okay. That's why you have a variety of podcasts that are out there. But I made sure that I learned from other podcasts things I liked and things I didn't like. One of the things that I noticed that I didn't like is not enough personal experience and not enough realness with the audience. So the reason why I'm having these one-on-ones, or the reason why we're, again, being transparent as a company, is because I'm trying to be authentic to you guys, the viewers and listeners, to understand and maybe get a little piece of what I'm trying to say so you can apply it to your own life and whatever that is to be successful. So definitely make sure you have your when, where, and how. That would be one that I would definitely say that you would want to write on a vision board. Why? Because you constantly, obviously, are looking at a vision board, but that will keep you in perspective of timing, which is important again. And finally, patience and follow through. This is a hard one for a lot of people, and it's even hard for me. Why? Because I'm really not a patient person at all. I want now. But I have learned over the years that if I'm patient, it always comes out better. If I would have jumped at opportunities, they probably would have not went my way. So patience and follow through is the final pillar, the pillar that we live for as a company. A lot of times we're asked to go different places, different states, start up a location in this state, go over here for us. There's so much work. Patience, patience, patience. Why? If you go back to the when, where, and how, if it doesn't align, don't do it. For us, we will sit and we will wait, and we will be patient, and we will observe, and we will make sure that it matches exactly what we've set for our pillars. This is a little insight secret. But what it does is it allows us now to look at a situation with clarity. It allows us to look at opportunities with clarity. And if you can go into opportunities with clarity, that makes all the difference. But with clarity, there comes a whole bunch of other situations. And that other situation is follow through. So most of the time when I think of us as a company and I think of patience, I think of opportunities or times that I've sat back and I've watched. And as I've sat back and watched, I decided now's the time to go. I've seen that it has everything that I'm looking for. It matches the other pillars that we're looking at, and we're going to go through it. So follow through becomes next. Follow through simply means that you will follow through on the actions that you set forth. The worst thing that you can do is to set yourself up for success and make empty promises and not follow through with them. Nobody likes that. I will repeat. Nobody likes it when you don't follow through. So if you can't commit, if you have no patience and you just rush into something and then you can't commit, it does not look good as for you as a person. But it also, unfortunately, attacks your integrity. And what people want to see most is integrity from people. They want to see trustworthiness. They want to see the openness, the simplicity of I'm not saying that you've got to spill your beans like I'm doing right now. But what I am saying is if you don't have that and you crush it by not following through, then it just doesn't sit well. And I'm here to basically tell you firsthand because it's happened to me before. So again, part of this topic conversation I'm going to be having with you guys, these one-on-ones, is for you to at least take a bit of knowledge from that. Hopefully it's helped you. Hopefully you get something from it. hit the like, the comments down below if you want to see more of these. I've got a lot of great ideas in my mind. I've got a lot of one-on-one ideas I want to share with you guys. A little bit more about my personal journey, basically from the beginning and where, I am now. But also these little snippets of information that I've obtained from mentors in my life that have given me ideas, but also things just in my own personal prayer life. If you're into that, great. If you're not, it still helps to listen. It still helps to be able to write stuff down. It doesn't all have to be biblical, but it does help. So if you liked it, if it's something that you guys want to see more of, again, please put it in the comments, hit the like button. I thank you again for tuning in. I thank you for liking the videos. I thank you for taking the time to listen, to watch. It means everything to me. I know it means everything to Clay, and hopefully we can continue to bring you guys, again, transparency, clarity as a company, and again, individuals. Thank you.